Think. Act. And prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show. It's been a while. I've been through a lot of things recently. Just had a baby girl and everything. And today we're with Jim Rogers again. How you doing today?
I'm delighted. Well, I'm delighted to be here, Daryl. I'm in quarantine in China. I'm not happy about that, but I have to be. So here I am. But otherwise, I'm in good shape.
Yeah. Like life has its gives and takes, huh?
Well, yep. Sometimes life takes more than it gives, as you well know.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been out of commission for a little bit, so I'm just kind of getting my mind going, wheels turning again. I just had a baby girl on October 2nd, so that's been.
When did you have the baby girl?
October 2nd.
Oh wow, she's new.
Mm-hmm. So she's born into this world we live in today. What kind of advice you got for me?
Well, she's brand new. She doesn't even know you're her daddy yet. She doesn't even know she's a girl yet. Make sure she learns how to read and write and add and all that kind of stuff, those basics.
Okay.
If she is good at those basics in the world we live in, she'll be ahead of many people. And I don't like saying it, but unfortunately it's true. As you well know, especially in America, unfortunately, it's sad. It's sad how bad our education is. So educate her and she'll be ahead of most other people.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of took a little break from the macro. It kind of helped clear my head a lot more. I was consuming a lot of information, a lot of readings, a lot of interviews, a lot of doom and gloom and everything. And I kind of had to take a little break from it. You think that's healthy to do that? Because I'm sure like your whole life doesn't revolve around investing in finance, right?
Well, I'm sure you just said it. In fact, it's usually good for people to take a break, whether it's a gap or a break or whatever you want to call it, and think of other things, do other things. And it gives new perspective to what they were doing before. Sometimes it leads back to where they were, only better. Sometimes it leads to new places, only better. So it's certainly a good thing to do. I mean, don't go to pot. Don't deteriorate, don't go into a period of decline, but certainly a period of thinking, doing new things, having new experiences is always good.
Yeah, for sure. I've been kind of on this new kind of binge with like fashion and stuff like that. And so I've been I've been kind of getting into that realm a little bit. So it's been very interesting just learning some new things and finding some new interests and things of that nature. So it's always good to have that.
But the new baby's going to teach you some things too. I assure you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. She definitely teaching me how to not get sleep, and everything. And so she's teaching me that for sure. I've also started my master's degree program, and so that was pretty interesting, kind of weighing out the pros and cons of that, and if this is going to be beneficial for the family or not, and everything. And so I decided to go with it after weighing out those pros and cons, and so I've been doing back into school, Jim.
Well, new directions are often very good for people, so hooray.
So I maybe can run the Fed now. I mean, I'm doing my master's in organizational leadership.
Oh, great. Lots of people need organizational leadership, as you well know, all over the world. You're going to be very busy.
Yeah. I may not want that job though. I definitely don't want that job. So So I mean, a lot of things that have taken place. I mean, in recent months. Actually, our last interview, I had to tell my audience that I wasn't recording that interview, so it didn't go up. I had to just give a recap of it. It was sad. It was a sad day, Jim. But I have you here again. So it's been a lot of things happening. I mean, lately, one of the things that's been happening is the buying of votes. I mean, the obviously, the government's still releasing from the SPR. We had the student loan forgiveness program, or not the forgiveness program, but the forgiveness of the up to $20,000. And I was just telling my friend just earlier. He said, "Hey, I want to know how much I'm forgiven for," and I'm like, you'll know before the election, you'll know. And so, yeah, I'm just like, hey, I think that this was, an opportunity to try to win some votes and maintain a position of power in the Senate or in the House or whatnot.
Well, you've identified exactly what it is. You're exactly spot on as usual. Yeah, that they're buying votes with
Yeah.
your money and mine, with somebody's money,
Yep.
and it's, well, whether it's good or bad or not, we can discuss if you want. But the thing that is happening is they are buying votes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And how do we? I mean, we're buying votes at a time. We're broke. I mean, we're been broke for a while, but liquidity is drying up. I'm seeing it quite a bit. I mean, the equities have drawn down quite a bit. Even the Chinese equities they're going down a lot right now. So, what's your take on the markets right now? I mean, what part of the bear market are we in? Are we in capitulation yet, or are we just in the negative earnings? What's kind of your perspective?
Well, we're certainly not in capitulation yet. We are in worry and so not panic yet. And well, maybe in some places, in some stocks, there's panic, but no capitulation. Oh my gosh, Darryl, when everybody is saying to you, Darryl, this is all a cheat. They lie. I'm never going to invest in the markets again, never, ever in my life, because it's dishonest and not a fair game. That's when you start thinking about capitulation. When people say to you, listen, I'm getting out of this, I'm going to sell everything I have no matter what, because it's dishonest, then we're talking about capitulation. We're not to capitulation yet. We're not even, I don't think we're anywhere near capitulation yet.
Hmm. Is capitulation, is that a phase of nearly every bear market?
Well, yeah, yes. Every bear market. I mean, every market has its own unique characteristics, but in bear markets, at the end, you know, bear markets end in panic. It's pretty much been the case all over the world throughout history. Everybody is just in total panic and wants out no matter what. They all look the same in that regard. Just like, all bull markets wind up in a period of hysteria where everybody must buy stocks, must have some more stocks. These are the best things in my life. Yes, hysteria comes in a bull market and panic comes in a bear market. I
Hmm.
haven't seen serious panic yet anywhere in the world. It may be developing, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, okay. So what's kind of your hedge? Are you? I mean, obviously, I mean, you probably. I mean, a lot of investors are keeping cash on the sideline. Um, the dollar's been going higher or whatnot. I mean, right now the dollar's king. In a lot of ways, compared to assets like stocks or whatnot. So do you think like having cash on the sideline to be able to take advantage of like capitulation? Uh, do you think? I mean, it obviously sounds like it's not over yet. I mean, the Fed's going to come out and hike again. What's your take?
Well, when there's capitulation, having cash, especially having a lot of cash, you feel very, very good and it's wonderful. Few people will do that. I mean, few people will be in that position. But even then, Darryl, you got to make sure you have the right kind of cash. You mentioned U.S. dollars, and I happen to own a lot of U.S. dollars, as you may remember from last time. But if people own the wrong cash, some currencies are collapsing. The pound sterling, the euro, some major currencies are going down a whole lot. So those people are sitting there in cash. They've got the wrong kind of cash, and they're getting killed. But if you have the right kind of cash, when everybody else has no cash or little cash, or when everybody else is panicking and capitulating, then it's a very good position. But then you got to act too. Many people will be sitting there in cash, but still in terror and panic, and will not act. They will look around them and they say, oh, it's going to keep going. It's not over yet. So you then also have to have the ability and the willingness to do something instead of just watch.
Mhm.
This is not easy.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's easy to make money investing. It's not easy. It never has been easy for me anyway. People think it's easy, but not easy for me. Never has been.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I started, kind of, doing more liquidation of, well, it's been probably about 2 months. Like I've sold a lot of my positions, and except for I'm still holding on to energy and kind of commodities and that are paying a good dividend or whatnot. But I got out of a lot of the other growth type names and everything. And so I took some cash off the table. Just I see that the Fed doesn't seem to be reversing course. Um, I don't know how soon they will reverse course, and then when they reverse course, I mean, we haven't even had an announcement of a recession or anything like that. It seems like there's a lot more risks to factor in.
Well, you make lead to a couple of good points. A lot of companies still aren't reporting down earnings. Normally in a bear market, there are a lot of companies that have bad earnings. People start going bankrupt. I mean, there's despair in the economy, not just in the market. The real bear market and leading to real capitulation is there's good reason for despair, including the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve usually gets confused. They're always confused, if you ask me. But no, the Federal Reserve is obviously doesn't quite understand what's going on. The world doesn't quite understand what's going on. I don't see those signs yet. I don't see companies just completely giving up. I don't see many companies going bankrupt yet anywhere in the world. Maybe it's happening, but I haven't noticed it. I still notice good economic reports in some countries and fairly good things happening in some countries. In despair and in capitulation, nobody's happy about anything except the short sellers.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and that's even a whole other kind of dynamic where you get short squeeze, you have these vicious bear market rallies and everything. And so it's definitely a tricky game. So what happens when
as I said, Darryl, this is not easy. People think it's easier in the wrong business.
Yeah, for sure. So what happens when we start unemployment increases and there's an announcement we're in a recession, or you have the government or the Fed announcing that we're in recession. What happens in that time? I think the last time was 2008, and I was just in a whole nother realm then. I was 20 years old working at a furniture warehouse. I didn't even think about the markets. But what happens in the markets when that takes place?
Well, usually not. I mean, there are temporary reactions, yes, when the government or somebody makes announcements, but they're often wrong. The Fed, if you go back in previous times, in 2008, Ben Bernanke, who was the chairman of the Fed at the time, said, no, there's no economic problem. There's no recession. Well, a few months later, we found out, oh my God, we were right in the middle of a recession when Ben Bernanke was saying there is no recession. and you don't have to worry. We have things under control. So one of the things I've learned is if you listen to governments, you're really not going to be very successful because they don't know either usually. And a lot of the stuff they say is inaccurate, is incorrect. And because they don't know, also because they have to lie. I mean, I don't know if they have to lie, but they do lie to save their jobs and to make people think everything is okay. So relying on the bureaucrats in Washington or London or anywhere is usually not a good way to succeed.
Yeah.
Figuring out what the reality is a good way to succeed, no matter what the government says. And going against the government is often a very good way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it seems like just like in any type of crisis situation, people try to keep people from panicking and and they'll say, "Oh, everything's fine, everything's okay." And so it seems like that happens in a lot of crisis situations.
Well, it does. First of all, these guys don't know, but second, they think they have to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And the way they make people happy is say, "Happy days are here," or "Don't worry."
Hmm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So so this kind of like transition into like energy. There's been a lot of talk about the energy crisis in Europe. I mean, there's been a few things like Nord Stream 2, I think it's Nord Stream 2 explosion or something. And now we're hitting this winter time, this fall winter time, with a lot of the European nations still having an energy crisis to deal with. What does this look like? What do you think this looks like for people over in that area?
It just makes it worse. If you're running a factory and you can't turn on the lights, you can't turn on the machines, you obviously have even worse problems. It's bad enough if your customers are calling up and say, "Cancel the orders." That's bad. But then if you can't even turn on the lights or turn on the machines, or you can't manufacture your products, that's very bad. And that's what's beginning to happen in some countries in a small way so far because of the lack of energy in Europe. You got to have natural gas to run many factories, to run many power plants. And because of the war, we're running out of energy in some countries. It's not a major disaster yet. It's not a catastrophe yet because there are reserves and there are other sources, at least temporarily. But, oh, Darrell, this in the end could be a horrendous nightmare. Especially if the war gets worse and if there's not enough energy, whether it's from natural gas or nuclear or whatever it's from, if people don't have energy to turn on the lights, they're not going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. Nobody's going to be happy.
Yeah. And that's the importance of the self-sufficiency and kind of being prepared. Which I did a lot of preparing, early this year. I kind of had to chill back a little bit, just like, okay, I think I got, canned goods and everything. I got generators and stuff, but yeah, it's for sure something that if people don't have any type of preparation for, crisis, like, it could be.
Well, Darrell, let's hope you never need your preparation. But I assure you, if you do need it and you have extra reserves, you're gonna be a lot happier than most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hope I never have to use that. And I've often heard Rick Rule say uh, he hopes that gold never goes, to a certain price because then it's going to hurt every other aspect of his lifestyle.
Well, that is a good point. I hope a lot of things never happen because if they do happen, we're in serious trouble. Yeah, I hope gold never turns into a panic. I hope gold never goes crazy because then I'll have to sell it. If gold turns into a bubble, first of all, because very, very bad things are happening. But second, I'd have to sell it. And I want my kids to have my gold someday. I want it to be in the family forever. But if it
Mhm.
turns into a bubble because things are so bad, then you have to sell bubbles. They never last. So if gold turns into a bubble, first of all, it means something's very bad out there. But second, it means I've got to take some action, which I don't want to do.
Yeah, for
But if
sure.
it turns into a bubble, I will sell, I assure you.
Yeah, I
I
got
hope, I hope, I say those words. I hope I'm smart enough.
you. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've been kind of just buying more of the pre-33, constitutional gold. I've been really into that, into the liberties and the Indian heads.
Well, I'm going to leave it to you. Everybody has to make their own decision. So,
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. What would you say like is a good like allocation to precious metals? Some people say 5%, some people say 10%. I think I was over, I think I was over 50% at one point. I mean, obviously people need to do what they feel comfortable with, but what's kind of
oh,
like your take on it?
it really depends on what people know. I mean, if people don't really know much about gold and silver, probably shouldn't own any gold and silver. But if they know a lot about it, again, it depends on what you know. Maybe you'll have 100% of your money in silver or something if you really know what you're doing. It depends on. My answer to you is, if you know what you're doing, you know what to do. You're not going to listen to me or anybody else. You're going to say, I gotta know what he's talking about. And you will do what you know because you have your own knowledge, your own foundation, and you will
Mm,
know what actions to take. Listening to other people is usually not a good way to invest, or anything, but especially invest. If it goes up, you don't know what to do because you don't know why you bought it. If it goes down, you don't, well, if it goes down, you're going to blame Jim Rogers. You're going to
Yep.
blame somebody else because you bought it. But if it goes down, you don't know what you should do because you don't know why you bought it in the first place. So the only way to be successful is to stay with what you know. And if you
Mhm.
don't know, then just do nothing. Wait until you know something about what product you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And it's also one of those things where, if you're looking at, I mean, me, I've studied history of gold and everything, so I feel, confident with my allocation. Um, I was getting into these fancy coins for a little while, the silver coins and everything, and I had to step back from that. Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm getting kind of caught up in this kind of praise of like these childhood cartoons and the silver coin shaped as your childhood cartoon and everything. And so I had to step back, step back from that and just kind of focus on the
Well,
basics.
I don't know the whole process, but you did the right thing. If you realize I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to stop.
Mhm.
Everybody should learn that. If they don't know what they're doing, don't do it,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever it is.
agreed, agreed. So what's happening in China's economy? I'm trying to, I've been thinking. I know China usually lags the U. I mean, U.S. usually lags China as far as I know Chinese equities have been down for, I mean, since 2001, so going on 2 years. And they're pretty cheap now. I don't know if they're going to get cheaper or what, or when. And I know they have the election coming up and everything. And so, what's kind of your take on the Chinese equities right now?
Well, China's been having a property bubble for several years, which they have been trying to do something about. It is finally happening. The bubble is popping, whether the government engineered it or whether the market engineered it. In my view, it's more the market that engineered it. The government contributed, but the bubble was very serious. Property everywhere was going up to unbelievable prices, and debt was building up as a result. So China's got a property bubble which is popping at the government, and the government is willing for it. Was anyway willing for it to pop. Now it's getting serious, and so they're not so happy. But that is part of what's happening in China. Then, of course, economies around the world are starting to slow down. and China is an extremely big trading country. And if your customers have trouble, you have trouble, whether you did something wrong or not. So China's many customers are cutting back in a serious way. So with the property bubble combined with a slowing trading environment, China's having problems. But yeah, I mean, we in the United States became the most successful country in the world. Along the way, we had a lot of problems. We had a lot of bear markets. We had a lot of bankruptcies. We had many periods of panic and bankruptcy. So this is normal. In my view, it will be good for China in the end. Now, they don't like it. No country likes to have bankruptcies and to have problems. But looking back on it historically, people will find that, oh, that cleaned out the system. It cleaned up some mistakes that people had made, and then you start over. So historically, bear markets or popping bubbles have usually been good for people, and including bankruptcies have been good for economies and nations. Nobody likes it when they're doing it. Nobody wants to be the one that's going bankrupt. Nobody likes a problem. But I'm talking about on the big picture, the historic picture, usually it's good for a system.
Yeah, to kind of clean out, flush out a lot of the bad debt and kind of reset.
Well, that's what's happening here in China. Yes, it's certainly happening. And, they had the virus. They closed down the country for the virus. I mean, China is completely closed. I am in China now, but to come to China, I have to do 10 days of quarantine. And most things are completely closed down in China because of the virus, much more so than in other countries. And that just makes things worse, naturally.
hmm So what happens to the price of oil when China does decide to reopen? I think
When China, what happens to the price of oil when China does what?
decide to reopen or whatnot from the pandemic, because that's a
Well,
lot of demand that hasn't been.
China's one of the two largest economies in the world, and when one of the two largest economies in the world closes down or cuts back dramatically, obviously the demand for oil goes down and goes down significantly. That's what's happened in China. It happens to anybody. If you
Mhm.
close down, people aren't going to drive. People aren't going to run machines. So obviously China's got a serious period of lockdown, or at least cut back. And that means the demand for everything, especially oil and energy, has declined.
So would you say the price of oil would be higher if China was open?
Oh, of course, demand leads to higher prices,
Mhm.
unless there's a lot more supply. Higher demand usually leads to higher prices.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. What's your take
When
on
I was
the
on the plane to China yesterday, the plane was almost empty.
mm, wow. Like how many people? Like,
But I mean, that's only one plane, and China's a gigantic country, so I don't use that as a guide, but it is an indication. I say I've come to one of China's most important, thriving, largest cities, but there was virtually nobody on the plane.
oh wow. Yeah. Yeah, and you've been to China multiple times, so that was this like a new was this like the first time you've seen that, or
Well, no, I mean, I don't know if it's the first time, but I have been to China many times, but I was a little surprised, given the state of the world, to see how few people were on the plane from Singapore to a major Chinese city yesterday.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe every other flight was full. I don't know. Maybe I just happened to be on the one that was slow, but
Yeah.
it was very empty.
Yeah, for sure. So what's your take on the what's happening with deglobalization? I know that, the whole war strike, this whole like uh deglobalization kind of thing, and it may have been trending before that, but and then you've had like the formation of the BRICS, and you got OPEC and all of this. So like what do you feel is happening in the global sense as far as like trade and globalization?
Well, Darrell, throughout history, trade international commerce has been good for the world, and closing off has been bad for the world. I can name many countries that closed off and went into decline. History is pretty simple. If you close off, you go into a decline for many obvious reasons. And if you open and are engaging with the world, usually things are much better. And for whatever reason, well, there's war, there's epidemic, there are reasons for that the world has been closing off to some extent. Deglobalization, yes. When things go wrong, sometimes politicians, not sometimes, nearly always, politicians start blaming foreigners. And if you blame foreigners, then they start closing off to each other. And that just makes it worse. And it's easy to blame foreigners because they have different language, different religion, different food, different clothes, different everything. So you can blame the foreigners. But that's not a good way to do things. Just because it's not a good way doesn't mean people don't do it, and they have throughout history. But it's never been good. And it's not good, not going to be good now.
Yeah. 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 It sounds like it. I mean, even, I saw, I think it was a month or two ago when I think President Biden came out and said, we will defend Taiwan. And I was kind of just like wondering, wondering why would you say that? Why would you even put that energy in the air? It
Well,
seems very provoking.
you happen to be exactly right. My view was Mr. Biden didn't know what he was doing, what he was saying. If he did, that makes it even worse. I can look at a globe and I don't know why anybody would go to war over Taiwan. My view, and it is only a view based on very little. I look at it, I don't know why China would want to go to war over Taiwan. China can just wait. China's been there 5,000 years. Taiwan will be part of China again someday. Now, if they want to go to war over China, I certainly don't want to go to war over Taiwan. I don't know what's in it for the U.S. to go to war over Taiwan. I don't know what's in it for us to go to war with a lot of people, but we do it. We keep doing it. My view is that China would just wait, but I'm not China. Who knows what China's going to do? But if there's a war over Taiwan, if there's an Asian war, it's going to be very bad for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's true.
And by the way, I don't see that the U.S. is in a good position to win a war over Taiwan. I look at the globe and I say, what are we going to do? But
yeah, it's definitely some concerns there. What's your take on so I know for a while there was I did a lot of videos on like the agriculture. I mean, obviously the macro is still there regarding I think you mentioned the average farmer in Japan is I think 60s or something like that. Is it Japan, the average farmer?
the average, what for the
The
average
average,
farmer?
yeah, the age of the average farmer.
Well, in America, it's 50, 56, 58. I mean, our farmers are getting old, but everywhere in the world, they are. In Japan, it's 66. You know,
66. Okay.
many Indians farmers commit suicide. The average age of farmers in Australia is 50, 50 something. No, more people in America study public relations than study farming.
Mhm.
Farming's not been a great business for the past few decades. And now we're all paying the price. There are not many farmers out there and getting fewer every day, every year. And we got to have farmers or we're not going to have any clothes. We're not going to have any food.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cotton and all those other resources. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
cotton, everything. I mean, we all wear clothes. Maybe we're going to stop wearing clothes. I doubt it. Because when the winter comes, you need something to keep warm. But
Mhm.
and you
Yeah.
need something to eat when the
Yeah, for
winter
sure.
comes.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Um, so the UK, I mean, the Bank of England, they recently had a pivot because something was happening with their pension system. Um, and liquidity, I think it's liquidity or something with the bonds, with something with their pension system. Um, what's your take on like the pension systems? I mean, it seems like there's these big promises. I mean, we have even Social Security next year, another cost of living adjustment coming, and there's these big, governments that are, one promising these pensions and everything. I kind of like, feel like I was in the pension system for a while, and I kind of feel like it wasn't like something that was going to serve me in the long term. Like, like when I get to be 60 years old, like, is my pension going to be there? Or, and I've seen, the pension crisis and people not getting their pensions in certain states or whatnot. What's your take on this whole pension crisis thing?
Well, in the West, in Europe and America especially, uh, basically the pension systems are bankrupt, technically bankrupt, because Social Security is a bankrupt system. Any young person today, I mean, they're not going to be able to pay them unless they print huge amounts of money. But the UK is the same way. The UK has gigantic debts compared to the size of its economy. And well, Europe, I mean, they've made many promises to old people, but anybody sitting there with a calculator and who's got a little bit of arithmetic ability can see that the numbers aren't there. The money's not there. So far, everybody just hopes the problem goes away, or at least, politicians figure, well, by the time I come along, by the time the problem comes along, I'll be gone. That's what they're all hoping for. But the problem everywhere, I mean, you saw that the English suddenly realized, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But it's not just the English, it's even the Germans, it's even the Japanese, it's all of us. We've all been promised a lot of stuff. Where is the money? It's not there, I assure you. The only good news is we might be dead by the time we're supposed to collect. That's not good news, but that's what the politicians are hoping for.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes sense why, you want to pass, your gold down to your children, as well. I mean, especially, like whenever that bill comes due, that they have some type of financial security.
Well, I certainly hope. My children don't think about these things at their age. One's 14, one's 19. But I hope that by the time they come along, they're smart enough to know the situation and smart enough to keep their gold and silver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So are you currently buying gold and silver now, or are you?
No. I mean, I'm not very good at market timing. I guess I should listen to Darrell Thomas, but no, I see that have been and are in a state of serious decline. I have no idea when I'll step in and buy, but somewhere along the line, I hope I'm smart enough to buy more gold and more silver. Silver is much cheaper now than gold on a historic basis. Silver is down something like, I don't know, 70% from its all-time high. Gold is down maybe 15%. I mean, I haven't checked the numbers, but if I were buying either right now, I would buy silver, but I'm not buying either because I have the sense that there's more decline to come. But Darrell, do not rely on me for market timing. Do not rely on me for market timing.
You shared the story. I think you were shorting gold back in, was it the 70s, 80s?
Oh, yeah, 100 years ago. Yes. No, short silver. When the Hunt brothers were putting their big move into silver, we were shorting silver and we were shorting gold too. Yes, I mean, it turned into hysteria, it turned into a bubble. When that kind of market happens, you pretty much have to short, because when markets go straight up and everybody's screaming, they've got to buy more, usually that bubble pops. And it did pop then.
Yeah. It's historical. Well, Jim, I thank you for coming on today, sharing your wisdom with us. Let's do this again sometime.
I'm very keen. Congratulations on the new baby. I want to meet her sometime. Thank you, Darrell.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.